Are we on? Let's go.
Right.
Welcome to another episode of the OoruLabs podcast from Bengaluru. Ever complain how bad our cities are, how bad your commute is? You'll get to hear from people who are working to solve these problems in their own way. This is your weekly soapbox for urban sustainability. I am Satya Sankaran. I am in conversation today with Naresh Narasimhan, who, apart from owning a well established architecture firm, is well known for his passion around urban rejuvenation and Bengaluru history as well. Church Street in central Bengaluru used to be a rundown street just like any other in our cities, and he transformed it into a walkable cobblestone street which attracts many people today to come there just because it is nice to be around. He has more recently taken up transforming the large stormwater drains running through the city. They are called the Rajakaluves in Bengaluru. They carry anything but stormwater into places you can sit and walk along without fainting over the stench. Okay, these two are examples that have a lot of learnings for us. They are just marquee projects that he has done, but he's got a lot more experience around many other things. So let me just dive in. Can our cities really transform into livable spaces? Is the primary question I want to understand. Before that, you might also have to define for us what livability is. But the larger question, which I've seen you answer nicely before, is what makes a city? Let's start from there.
There's only one thing that makes a city, it's people. Take the outer space view, not the aerial view of the problem. The issue really is that we are used to comparative modes of cities using longitude. We always talk about the West, the Middle East, the East, the Far East, etc., etc. And all these classifications don't make any sense because what would you call Japan? Is it West or East? Or what would you call China? Or what would you call Australia for that matter? Instead, if you look at the planet and learning from other cities, should be from the cities which are on the same latitude, not longitude. Right? So if you look at very few people will know, for instance, that let's assume you are sitting in Bangalore and you drill a hole right beneath your feet. Where on the other side of the earth will it come out?
The Pacific Ocean, maybe?
Not really. It's a good guess because people don't realize Pacific Ocean is almost 50% of the planet.
Ah,
45% of the planet is the Pacific Ocean. So I'm going to leave this as a quiz question for all your readers. I'm not going to answer it. Okay. But from an urban development perspective, what I have started looking at it is it's not about global north, it's not about global south, it's not about these kind of what I call sociological and humanities based debates. If you want practical ideas on how to make cities livable in their context, Indians like little bit disorder. We don't want Amsterdam. You know what I mean? It's not,
mm,
and also we should not aspire to that. We should look at cities which are on the same latitude and understand how they have solved various issues and understand how to implement that. So what I have noticed now is more from first I thought it was an urban design problem. Now I understand it is a social psychology issue. What do the people really want? And that's the only thing that makes a city, the people. Anywhere in the world, you will find, say, for instance, if you take a comparison with, say, Istanbul as a
mm,
comparable city to Bangalore,
mm.
the people of Istanbul do not throw trash randomly. It's a culture, it's a city culture. They simply don't. The entire city is probably bigger than Bangalore, and there's no trash anywhere.
Mm.
So I am starting to understand that it's not just about well-meaning solid waste management schemes. It's not about disposal ideas or recycling ideas or incineration ideas. It's got nothing to do with all that. Fundamentally, if you take the example, say, I'm jumping the gun here, but I hope you'll forgive me. Say the K100 drain project. Can I go to that?
No, let's jump into it. Let's jump into that. Let's talk about K100 because that's one of the biggest things that we are doing now. What
Right.
does it teach us? Yeah, let's
But
go.
it's about like what 11 kilometers long. It's probably the oldest stormwater drain in Bangalore, the original one.
Mm,
I
mm,
found it on a map from 1791. We've now,
mhm,
and it was never any. So you have to understand the meta water history of the Bangalore region. What happens is that how did this net? Who decided on what basis the network of all these overflowing lakes and in between Raja Kalways and marsh
Mm.
systems. It's a completely, the whole thing is human made. I'm not saying it's man made. Somebody made it much before
Mm.
Kempegowda, at least
Correct.
8, 9 centuries before that. Somebody's thought of it.
Mm.
Why was it done? That then you have to understand Bangalore's specific reason for existence. It sits on top of a ridge, broadly sloping in two directions, and in a third direction, it
Mm.
goes and joins the first direction after some time. It is the largest city in the world without any natural geographical boundaries, or it is also the largest city in the world not next to a prominent geographical feature. There is no river, there is no mountain, there is no sea, there is no archipelago, there's no nothing. There's no reason for it to exist if you look at it historically, because most human settlements were near a source of water. It's probably the only city in the world, one of the few cities in the world in this latitude, not next to a direct source of water. So what did they do? It has two issues. One is, did you need water for drinking, cooking, eating? Then you can't live without water. So the reason Bangalore comes to exist is that it is at the crossing of two trade routes, ancient trade
Mm.
routes, north to south, as well as Mangalore to Chennai, but across the
Yeah.
Ghats.
Straight
Across
across.
the
Mm.
Ghats. So at that time, because it crossed, it's like Samarkand. It's a crossing of two trade routes. It will always, a settlement will form around that, because there is a reason for a lot of trades to exist, a lot of businesses to start, and so on. That's how it probably started. The other thing is, because it's in the middle of nowhere, and that those days, as the ancient days, some 15 centuries ago, there were it was a state of war. Anybody could come and fight with you. Anybody could do raid you. You could do anything. So how do you protect a city like that? One is you can build a fort, but then you're limited to the fort. But how much fort are you going to build? So how do you protect the land around it? What they did was they created these three. Found out all the shallow points where water was moving slowly when it rained, dammed everything with a bund with an overflow system, and the place in between each lake to the other lake was a marsh. So an invading army cannot bring wheeled vehicles or cannon into it. You understand? It's a very clever idea. You cannot bring only human, and only in four locations around the city. And all the Kempegowda towers you see are the high point lookout towers. Originally, they were the lookout towers to see if anybody is coming to invade us. And only through those four protected entry points could you approach Bangalore city. What started as a Rajakalwe ended with a defense mechanism. So then you understand how it has evolved over time. When that Bangalore hasn't seen a war, I don't know whether that's good or bad, for a very long time. I think 280 years or something. The last war was when 1791. That's really long ago.
Mm.
It never had a invasion or a war after that. So the Rajakalwe then morphs to become the, as the pressure on urbanity increases, city comes closer and closer to this marsh. The edges of it get filled up. And then it becomes a canal. But Rajakalwe itself is not very old. It was part of a marsh system. The marsh is gone now. Only the, and when the lakes are gone now. And the lakes were these sponges. So we started looking at this problem from two, three things. How do you make a resilient piece of infrastructure? How do you recreate these urban sponges which used to exist? How do you also make sure that nothing else other than rainwater flows in? All solid waste, sewage, silt, everything's got to go. So it became like a multi-layer. It took us one year, more than a year, just to figure out what is going on in just 11 kilometers. The train goes from Shantala Silks in Majestic up to Bellandur Tank.
Mm.
As the
Mm.
crow flies, it's only 11 kilometers. Once you've understood the history of it, how it came to be,
Mm.
then the solution starts
Mm.
coming. What has happened is, over
Mm.
time it has degraded into the, what I would call, armpit of the city. That's the place where all the draws from a water canal, it has become a kachada mori, like a giant garbage pit. So the corporation
Mm.
has tried to solve it by building very high concrete walls and putting metal fences on top of it. I will send you pictures of it.
Mm.
And
Mm.
people are throwing stuff on top of that. And the sewage network around that area is completely broke. So
Mm.
130 million liters of sewage was flowing in it 2 years ago. Today,
My
it's
God.
reduced to less than 5. It's about 4 MLD is flowing still. That is also going to get fixed now, sooner or later.
Yeah.
130 million liters of raw, untreated sewage was flowing in that drain less than 2 years ago. So it's completely possible
Hmm.
to change an urban system by doing three things. One, bring the public into public infrastructure. We held workshops all along the drain. The people living on the edge of the drain keeps changing. It cuts across 7 major roads. Each chunk, Kalasipalya is full of metal workers, a lot of very poor
Hmm.
people, and people like that. Then it comes to Sudan Nagar, which is full of migrants, a lot of locals, migrants, small textile units, all kinds of things like that. Then it goes through Double Road, which is a institutional stretch, which is all KSRTC, BMTC, all these kind of guys. Then it goes through Banerghatta Road, which again becomes a slum area, which is redeveloped now. Then curiously, it goes through an upper class area like Koramangala, Shinivaglu tank bed backside. And then eventually it turns around there and goes and joins Belandur tank. Falls into Belandur. So each segment required different stuff. It took quite some time. And also to talk to everybody there and understand how do we create a culture of pride and ownership on that place.
Hmm.
Not treat it like a garbage dump. One other larger theme which was brought into the project quite early in the process was that of decentralizing city infrastructure. Okay. And also
Hmm.
going from a gray infrastructure model to a green infrastructure model, right? So what we did there was held workshops, spoke to everybody on the script, we tried to tell them that, and we took the psychological route of reducing the the barrier wall to 3 feet with this nice steel railing on top of it, and removing the fence altogether, and telling everybody, look,
Hmm.
we're going to fix this stuff. You are the guardians. You cannot allow anyone to throw anything. We also fixed the roads
Hmm.
on either side of the drain with white top concrete, with flower beds, very good lighting, and the whole place has now undergone a, strangely enough, which was predicted long ago by a very important person. The real estate value there has doubled and sometimes even tripled. The joke in my office is that they're going to, the day a Starbucks opens with canal view, there we are done, or at least third wave coffee or something. So
Hmm.
it has also created Bangalore's first urban park, new park in many years.
Hmm.
It's almost 1 acre, almost close to 3/4 acre, 1 acre of a beautiful park where all the bus stand people now are waiting there to catch the bus instead of inside the bus stand.
But why did you feel it important to
Because
convert
it's
this into such kind of a recreational space? Because you said the Rajakalaway was anyway man-made, the lakes are man-made. We don't have to preserve that. You can
supposed to
just kind of
preserve
convert
that.
it into a drain and let it go.
Please don't keep calling it that. That word drain only is a negative connotation. Drain carries sewage.
Hmm.
This is a canal. This is like if you go to Amsterdam, everybody is taking selfies and posting it. I want that to happen in Bangalore. Why cannot it become a public resource? It's a green corridor, right? You can walk inside it for almost 8 kilometers, right? From Double Road to Belandur. If you go by car, no, it will take you longer. You go by vehicle.
I know.
It's an NMT. It works at an NMT level. Because of the lighting and the improved road surface, women's safety has gone up dramatically. You can see people walking even late at night. Those that area used to be full of drunks and louds and badly lit and all kinds of shady criminal activities going on. Not all gone. So it has had like a ripple effect on the whole region. Nobody has touched that area for 20, 30 years. 9,000 lorry loads of silt is gone. It is the only canal. When it now rains in Bangalore, a heavy rainfall event, it never floods anymore because the entire canal is now available for rainwater.
What are the governance challenges in doing something like that? One is the people challenges, the social behavior. You said
Yeah,
I still have people just at the end of the day, their shops by the wayside just open the
yeah.
drain cover and then just put everything into the stormwater drain and then just close it and go away. All the refuse is getting piled. There is a behavioral aspect you said. This also goes back to your the Church Street experiment you said. Does design drive behavior or behavior drives design, or what is this? How does this
100%.
influence each other?
One of the strategies used in the K100 comes from the learnings from the Church Street project. 2 years ago, I think, less than 2 years ago, I went one day morning at 10:30 to Church Street for some errand. I have to buy something. At the corner of Church Street near the Empire Hotel, I saw three women. When we do these projects, we make friends with everybody there. Pora Karmika, street vendor. If they don't support you, your project will not work. At 10:30 in the morning, all three of them are sitting there and enjoying one pan or something and chatting with each other. So I asked them in Kannada, of course, that ಏನಮ್ಮ ಹೆಂಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ and all that. They all said ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ sir and all that. I said ಏನು ಕೆಲಸ ಇಲ್ವಾ ಇವಾಗಲೇ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಕ್ಲೀನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬೇಡವಾ so they are in charge of sweeping the street and making sure every morning
Hmm.
kept clean. She said ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಯಾರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಚಡನೇ ಹಾಕೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸ ಆಗೋಯ್ತು.
Nice.
There's nobody throwing trash there because they see it's a nice space. It's like how you behave when you go to an airport. That is a public space. Why are you not throwing trash inside an airport? You'll find the garbage bin and put it inside. Church Street also has what I think now 11 or 12 garbage bins. Whatever garbage and all these people have to do in the morning is empty that into the cart and just bring it. Finish. Their work is over by 10 o'clock, which is good, no? So we said that this
No,
is
it
the
is.
this is the lesson. Bring the public into public infrastructure, and they will police it for you. You don't need a marshal on top of that. You will not. You will hesitate yourself to dirty the place, and if you do it, some guy will shout at you, saying "Olagaki, put it inside." So it's a so we said that how can we bring this to a 10-kilometer long stretch of the most polluted, the poorest of the poor live on that edge of that. And how do you bring that
Hmm.
transformation, which is like a, what do you call it? So street is not is frequented by all classes of people. But a lot of people who have disposable income also go there for fun, right? That's not the case in the K100 train. So the social behavior aspect, you learn a lesson from here and then go and talk to everybody there. I mean, to give you, instead of giving you theories, anecdotally, now near Sudam Nagar, there is one lady. So all along the edge of the drain, with breaks, we put flower beds so that plants would grow and fall into the drain and bougainvillea will bloom. This woman has gone and pulled out everything, whatever the ornamental stuff that we have planted. Okay? And she's planted an
Hmm.
entire kitchen garden with growing
Hmm.
tomatoes, brinjal, chili, vegetable there. And she's put a little rope around it to protect it. And she sits opposite that and watches her. If anybody throws trash or any kachara into the drain, she shout at them. She's become a guardian. And I told her, very good, please grow kitchen garden. It's a perfect idea. It's like, I mean, it's a useful garden also, and it looks nice. It looks green.
Yeah.
These kind of behavioral changes you cannot predict doing design, but if you enable it, saying that design, good design can actually create good behavior, and good behavior actually creates an urban asset. They've almost recovered what? Something like about 200 acres of land, which was waste. That
Hmm.
drain occupies that much area in the city, physical area. And now, within about, by December, maximum, I think, you can walk almost like the first 4 kilometers we throw it open, then 4 more kilometers a little later. The other 4 kilometers has walkways on both sides. One other thing one game changer in K100, which I forgot to mention, I mentioned it earlier,
Hmm.
is I started asking the question. All the sewage that was flowing in the drain is now flowing into a pipe. And there is so much sewage that the pipe diameter has reached 2.2 meters, which is like almost like 7 feet dia pipe is required. Why do we have this logic of taking these sewage through these giant pipes all to the edge of the city and creating one giant sewage treatment plant? If it fails, the whole ecosystem downstream is further destroyed. So I came up with this idea saying that decentralized sewage. Every ward should have its own sewage treatment plant. No solid or liquid waste can leave a ward. unless it's recycled. It has to be fixed there. So instead of making four giant sewage treatment plants, which cost hundreds of crores, to spend 10, 15 crores per ward, put a sewage treatment plant in every ward. So the government said, all right, we are willing to
Mm,
talk, you do it first. So in Kalasipalyam, in the heart of Kalasipalyam, in about half an acre of land, slightly more than half an acre of government land, BBMP land, which was used for storing used vehicles. We reclaimed that and we have put a 5 MLD plant there. By January this year, I think by early next year, Bangalore will have its first river back to life. We'll create every day we will release 5 million liters of treated water from upstream. The entire old city sewage will not leave the old city, it will leave it as water, fresh water. So 1 foot of water will be flowing in the drain every day. Bangalore has the opportunity to create about 450 kilometers of waterfront. The first 8 till 10 kilometers will be ready very soon.
Why was it called K100, by the way? What is the 100 in it?
Classification system, Bangalore has many waterways. So there are primary
Mm-hmm.
waterways that are called K something. Then there are secondary waterways and
Mm.
tertiary connecting to the secondary. So it's got we have the entire data of the entire system now. And Bangalore, only if we take out the silt from the drain, take out the solid waste from the drain, and take out the sewage from the drain, we will never have a flooding problem. It's
But
only
that's
a
complex to do.
it's engineering. And it's also social change, social behavioral change. People have to accept it as an asset.
There are two, three challenges in that I want to bring to you, right? One is you said we can put up ward level, literally BBMP of to force it in because Kalasipalya might accept, but some of the other areas will say, I don't want a sewage treatment plant or a waste segregation plant.
I already got that objection, so we have a solution to that also. So what
It's a
happened?
secret solution.
No, no, no. It's already under implementation. What happened in K100? K100 has 14 secondary drains joining it. The watershed of K100 is about 32 square kilometers. It's 23 wards and 4 MLA constituencies. So it's a political minefield. So in one particular area, which I will let us say on still on upstream of the drain, I won't say exactly where. There is a huge secondary drain joining the K100 itself, and that drain, the entire top of the drain is a big slum full of fairly unsavory characters. It's like a slummy
Mm.
area, not huts, but it's like a very low grade construction kind of thing, and it's a nobody wants to go to that area unless you live there or you. It's a bit dangerous. Okay, it's not exactly kosher. So many of the other drains, we vacated the people on the drain, removed the sewage, disconnected all the sewage coming into the secondary. And in this particular stretch, which is producing about 2 to 4 MLD a day, that is the main source of pollution coming into the 2 MLD, 2 million liters a day. We could not solve the problem. So what to do? You cannot put a sewage treatment plant. You cannot stop them allowing sewage into the drain. We have to accept that that drain, which was a stormwater drain, has now become a sewage conduit forever. So how do you solve the problem?
What
We
did you
tried.
do?
So I started asking the question: are sewage treatment plants the only way to solve the problem? We assume that if there is sewage, there has to be a sewage treatment plant. But a sewage treatment plant is a complex technical installation which requires
Mm.
daily testing, adjusting the chemical dosage on a daily basis by a skilled operator and also somebody who knows how to troubleshoot because things can go wrong. Some new pollutant can enter the drain and the whole chemical mix has to change. So, is there a way to learn from what does nature do? The question came. Usually,
Mhm.
the answer is found in nature. When you don't have an answer to a technical problem, look at how nature does it. And the answer was staring at us right in the face, which was wetlands with
Mm.
plants with root treatment systems. So we went and actually studied Bangalore's biggest wetland. It doesn't exist properly anymore, the Bellandur Lake system. We find that for 1 MLD of sewage, not effluent, there are two separate things. Effluent is chemicals.
Mm.
Of sewage,
Mm.
human waste and organic waste, pollution in water, that it requires roughly an acre of wetland to treat a million liters of sewage on a daily basis
Mm.
with fully planted wetland. Okay. So we did some research and found out that other people have been thinking about it. And a company in Israel called Ayala Aqua have come up with this incredible system where they build constructed wetlands other than natural wetlands. And they've managed to reduce a form factor to 1 is to 10. So if you needed an acre of land, you need 4,000 square feet to treat 1 MLD using a patented technology system. So the paradigm shift we said, let us move from an STP culture, which is
Hmm.
very difficult in government because it requires annual contracts. It also requires very skilled people to operate. Out of Bangalore's
Correct.
entire sewage treatment capacity of about 750, 800 MLD, less than half is working properly, even today. Bangalore is releasing more than
Hmm.
1,000 to 1,300 MLD of sewage into the hinterland every day. That's the scale of the problem. So we are moving from an STP logic to a PTS, which is plants treating sewage. And the only maintenance cost in a PTS system is gardening because they get so much nutrient, the plant grows like crazy. You have to keep trimming it,
Hmm.
that's all. Okay, and it lasts almost forever, at least about 15, 20 years without any major overhaul required. So in two, three locations along the K100 now, you will find the PTS system going to be installed, where the problem is intractable. We cannot divert the sewage because of social issues. You will find a garden inside the drain, which treats sewage, and the other side will come out, I think, better than secondary quality. I wouldn't say it's not drinkable, but it's not potable, but it's usable. Nothing will happen if you put your foot into it.
It creates public spaces, which brings me back to this whole idea of what does public space like this mean to the city. Let's take Church Street first. For Church Street, for example, I never used to go there earlier. It was just another street. It had no identity of its own. I could meet anywhere. I didn't have to meet on Church Street. But once this transformation happened, of course, in the initial period, after it was done as well, it was supposed to be a walking only street or whatever, right? I mean, or
No,
something like that.
that's not. There are more
What was it
than
supposed to be?
50 people who live on the street, and there are two corporate
Mm.
offices on the street which have parking garages. So you cannot just
Mm.
overnight say you cannot. I mean, eventually it may happen when it becomes a this thing. But you take the other example. Take commercial
Mm.
street. Commercial street
Mm.
has no garages, parking space inside any of the buildings there, and all the buildings there are shops except the police station. Correct. There also they don't. The people did not want a fully pedestrian street. They want the convenience of a car to drop them at the. That culture still has not come into India fully. In Church Street, we tried an experiment where weekends we tried to do it, right? And it lasted for some time. That didn't last for very long. But now people have got used to the fact that because it's not a thoroughfare, you don't get that much vehicular traffic going through it anymore.
Yeah, so people are automatically walking, right? Now it needed that inducement. Now I think if you and I go there today in the evenings, it's buzzing with activities. There are people there who are busking by themselves. There's a lot of activity, and it is so crowded now anyway that you don't feel like driving in there.
No, so it has become a pedestrian oriented street where the priority is
Mm.
pedestrian gets over the vehicle. The people who come in there are delivery vehicles and also people who live on the place and who need to get to their apartment or wherever they have to go. You can't stop that.
Nobody can
Commercial,
prevent that. I don't think
commercial,
anybody tried to even prevent that.
commercial street, we should have done it. But the shopkeepers didn't agree.
No,
So
but they are saying it is not an eating place, it is a buying place. There's far more eateries and hotels on Church Street,
third
whereas on
experiment,
commercial street there are a lot of people who want to buy.
I listen to people very, very carefully. Okay, that is the key to this. Otherwise, it will get objection, and people will stop the project. So the third experiment we are
Mm.
trying is, can we close a street from 6 p.m. to midnight if it is food oriented?
Mm.
So now, in another 1 month, you will see the next project of ours coming up now. It's the Vishweshwarapuram Food Street, Tindibidi. There
Mm.
are 40 shops, curiously all vegetarian for some reason, which open in the evening from 6 to midnight. So now the entire street has got a super makeover. and you'll see it opening to the public in about a month or two from now, officially. And that is the next experiment. No traffic is allowed there between 6 p.m. to midnight every day. The third level of pedestrianization initiatives.
But you've been to other countries. Most of these walking streets are also shopping streets. It's not that they are not. Why is it that we are okay with shopping in a walking only street in other countries? Of course, there are eateries and other things. It morphs over time into something else that you want it to be. Like you said, design can influence behavior, and over time it might change. You don't have to impose it now. But don't you think commercial street has the potential? Is what is the objection of people to saying places like commercial streets are today competing against malls and other places, right? And in fact, they are competing against online. Nobody even need to go to commercial. I haven't been there in 5 years now, right? I don't need to go there. We have our own micro. So what is? Aren't people seeing vibrant public spaces which are safe from traffic? How do you see this?
Yes and no. It depends on the context and the neighborhood and the use case. The same thing was tried out in
Mm,
Adi Bazaar. There is a massive public objection
mm,
to it. They don't like it.
mm, mm,
Again and again, I want to re-emphasize these three lessons. You have to bring the
mm.
public into public infrastructure right in the beginning of the project. Two, you cannot take a
Absolutely.
Western template. You have to take a latitude template. You cannot take a longitude template and apply it just like that on the Indian system. It won't work. You cannot do it. Three, you have to sort of also bring in design as a not just architectural or urban design. You have to bring in social design. What is intended behavior?
Mm,
To do that, why will it influence the physical design? Like, for instance, everybody in the BBMP said, I must be crazy to say cut the wall down to one. Of the drain wall was 7 feet high. It has come down to three. And the behavior
wow.
has completely changed. And also, what happened was there were about 20 bridges in terrible condition across the drain. One of the
Mm,
smart things, placemaking tools we use as designers is create very nice bridges. Look like a place for people to stand and look and take selfie, you know. So now there are in Kalasipalia there are beautiful stone bridges. I'll send you pictures. People started protecting that bridge immediately. They instantly they will understand that it's an asset that you can go hang out there and you can talk to people. It's like a new meeting spot in the middle of the city. So you have to know how to use these devices and tools to influence good quality social behavior. And you should also not lament about the fact that we will never be Amsterdam. We will be Bengaluru in a Bengaluru way. We must have our own sense
mm.
of civic pride and importance, not like something else. There should say, we want it like Bengaluru. Bengaluru has
Bangalore. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a wonderful way to think about it. But I want to I want to understand the governance part of it, right? Whether it was the Church Street itself or the K100, how uh, capacitated is the government to pull off these kind of things at scale across the city? And how is our infrastructure? I heard you say many times to me personally, I think it is useful for you to reiterate, is that 80% of what you see on a street is below the street. Or you said 90, I don't know. What is, we don't see that. We see the nice looking cobblestone, but we don't see the hard work that goes behind doing these things, right? And how does the government view this? They don't, I think, I don't know if half the
I think
government even knows what's underneath. It might be from the British era, no?
and various other eras. But the government has now understood that. Now slowly, for instance, in DBD in Visheshwarapuram, we understood that the more important part is exactly getting what is under. Only if you get what is under the road right, will the road never be cut again. You don't need to chop it. Even if there is a problem there, it will be limited to a very small area. The road need not be retouched. The surface need not be touched for a very long time. So now they have understood it, and it's a paradigm shift problem. No, we are used to a the BBMP is used to an annuity culture in maintenance contracts. So what they want to do is spend say 50 lakhs on a road, and spend 50 lakhs next year
Hmm.
again, and 50 lakhs the year after that. What we are trying to say is you spend 4 or 5 crores at one time. You don't have to do anything for the next 15 years, except minor repairs. So it's a cultural shift. It's not that easy to influence a system like that easily.
You said earlier when you were talking about the social behavior and said Bengaluru people need not be what we see in the other longitudes, like you say, right? They are their own, they have behave in a certain way, and we behave in a certain way. Of course, the negative part of it is we throw trash wherever we feel like. Why why do you think that happens? In order for us to have a better livable city, don't you think people need to start taking pride and change the way they look at the commons? Why is it okay for us to violate road rules or something? Is that what our identity is that an identity of Indian culture? Do we say this is what the culture is? How do you think about it?
I already gave you the example of an airport or a railway station where people behave properly in a public space. They don't throw trash everywhere. That's not true. I feel that it is a nationwide, if you want to call it, a culture-wide problem of the broken windows problem. The broken
Hmm.
windows issue. That if you see a broken window, you think that the place is unused and you throw trash into it. You break some more windows. I think that the quality, see, Indian architecture, I'm an architect first, right? I build buildings. And today I can say that in the last 5 years, I have built buildings in India, which on a scale of 1 to 10 compared to a longitudinal Western example, is a 9.5. I can build buildings in India to that quality if I have that budget also. Budget is important. And in terms of office interiors and residential interiors, the quality of our indoor spaces, which we Indians are very proud of, is now 11 or a 12 on 10. We are better than what I have seen outside India, anywhere, in any so called developed country. But the quality of infrastructure in India, due to a variety of reasons, ranging from right from independence, I don't want to, that's a separate lecture why it happened. Why the quality of public infrastructure is simply terrible. And it's a minus 10 on a scale of 10. Right? Just to bring it to 1 will be the task of this generation. And to take it to 10 on a world class scale will take probably post after petrol is over, maybe after 2050 or something. We still are not able to leapfrog over what the West had two strange incidences, which created a spur for good quality urban development. The two world wars, which India never went through on its own territory. A lot of it was destroyed and it was remade. It was remade correctly. We never had the chance. Right? I'm not saying we should have had a war, but that was a major trigger. And two, populations there are on the decline.
Hmm.
Availability of resources to do more and more for lesser number of people is also a factor. We have the reverse. So that's why I'm saying you cannot take best practices and apply them in India and think they will work. What you need in India, to paraphrase Mr. C.K. Prahlad, who is no longer with us, is next practices. You learn from that, but you implement according to context and listen to the people. You have to really make an effort to do that in India. We tend to think that people don't know anything. People know everything.
Hmm.
You have to help them articulate and bring them into a design language. That has been my biggest challenge so far is to how do you convince in India, every project has stakeholders, just like everywhere else in the world. The difference in India is if you do the wrong thing and do things without consulting the people, all of them will come with a stake in their hand with the pointy end pointing at you. So, so you have to know how to you have to really think from the viewpoint of the. I mean, that's one of the reasons we are successful as architects because we listen to the client very, very carefully. Sometimes they will be inarticulate. Sometimes they will say something which doesn't exactly address the issue. So you have to know that is the skill of a designer right? To be able to collect, collate, qualify, and then propose a solution. Most of the Indian urban infrastructure, I'm not disparaging anybody here, is done
Hmm.
by engineering professionals. Engineering professionals see a problem as a technological challenge which has to be solved. I have to get you from point A to point B, build a flyover. I have to get the sewage from point A to point B, build a sewage network. So they never look at it as I don't know why the humanities hopefully with the new NEP that will change. And humanities are never taught in engineering schools. For instance, you are an engineer, I presume. Have you ever been taught sociology? Have you been taught behavioral anthropology? Have you been taught what is social justice,
It's
inclusivity?
hard enough to study the syllabus as it is, yeah.
But architects curiously are taught these things in school. There, we have to, there is
Because
a
is architecture actually an art or a science, or is it in between? Is it about people? Maybe it's a subject itself is dealing with people,
architect
no?
is a profession and a business and a social.
Hmm.
And they are also responsible. Every
Hmm.
project of ours, there is also a third client, right? The people. If the railing is not strong enough, somebody will push against it. It will collapse and they will die. So in every project, the safety of people for us also is paramount. So it's going to use that space. This culture has not come into public infrastructure, which is why we see terrible grey infrastructure, which solves a certain problem. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it does not include people in the solution, which is what I feel I value
Yeah.
that an urban designer like me can bring to a even a large infrastructure project.
Most of the engineers seem to look at urban planners as a weird animal who are bringing in things that are detrimental to completing projects. Oh, so these weird, dreamy people are telling things that are not practical on the ground. To them, practicality is if I need to put a stone, I need to put a stone. It happens in the business itself, right? You take MBA grads. No, no, no. I have to sell this product by hook or crook. It doesn't matter what it causes to the environment. ESG is work. You know what I'm saying? So there are branding, there are perspectives that people, they are also people, they have studied something and they want to do it to the best of their abilities, but they think everybody else who prevents them or brings in extra complexity is evil, or shouldn't be listened to. So there's this constant tussle. Why should urban planners tell civil engineers where the highways need to be built?
Exactly.
What do
So
you think of those conflicts?
illogical, no? The one thing that we can learn from the West is that they have gone through this entire painful process for 100 years. We can not do all the mistakes they made and leapfrog in less than 20 years. What is the it's a no-brainer, right? Clearly the quality of their cities, the quality of the air in India, what happens is that we like these, what do you call it, motherhood type of statements. We want a great place to live. We want, nobody talks about the actual metrics of a great place to live. What are the metrics? How do you create an identity for Bangalore? You are asking that. So if I say that
Yes.
the air quality metric in Bangalore, the world standard is 10 for what do you call it? Those 2.5 particles.
2.5.
Right now we
Hmm.
vary between 60 to 200. Bangalore. Delhi is 500. The maximum measurement allowed in that AQI index is 500. And Delhi is at 800. Nobody knows how. Because the scale actually ends at 500. After that, it's not supposed to be livable. So we just compare ourselves and give each other awards saying, among the worst, we are the best. So if you if the government say adopts a policy system, and curiously enough, this is rooted deeply in Indian culture. I don't know whether you know the Pancha Bhutas, right? The five Pancha
Hmm.
Tattvas. What are those five Pancha Tattvas? He says the world is composed of air, water, fire, energy, and space. That's all, right? So the air can have a certain metric quality. We can say any project, the Bangalore city, any project must go through these five lenses or five filters before
Hmm.
it becomes an actual project on the ground. The air quality cannot change. It has to remain within 10, 2.5 world standard. The water quality that everybody has to get accessibility to at least 100 liters of water per day for whatever they want to do. And it is recycled, and you get out of this disposal mentality and get into a recycling mentality. Three, energy. Bangalore has to become
Hmm.
autonomous with energy sources. We have a lot of energy and we have a management problem. We don't have an energy problem. The reason the power goes off so many times a day in Bangalore still is because of a poor quality network, not because there is no electricity. Correct? We can buy electricity from anywhere. So, if you look at Prithvi, the fundamental thing, which is land, which is the mother nature, the earth, what kind of we should make a system saying 50% of Bangalore should be green. Like, if you make a filter like this and put an actual metric on each of the Panchabhutas, The one metric we are very good at is what we are talking right now. Akasha. We have broadband and we can talk like this at 60 Mbps. And India probably has the best internet on the whole planet. So of the Panchabhutas, we fixed one. Now it's time to fix the other four, which is the hard part. And I'll add a sixth one, which is mobility. We have not understood that a combination of public and private transport, with the emphasis being on 80% public and 20% private, will completely change the economy of this ecosystem and will actually contribute to all the other Panchabhutas. The air will become cleaner, the water will become more available, the ground will become easier, more footpaths. Prithvi is also us, and we will also change as a people. The answer is already embedded in our culture. All we have to do is use modern methods of metrication and say that no
Mhm.
project in the city, unless it passes these filters, can be implemented. Or if it breaks those filters, how much time will it take to come back to normal? To make this understandable to government, to bureaucracy, to politicians, and ultimately to the people is a challenge that I don't think we will see solved in our generation. But it's our job to keep chipping away as much as possible.
No, that's exactly what I think we should do. Is to not just give up saying it might not happen in our generation, but to keep looking at this and defining these parameters at least publicly, in a way that we can start popularizing the thoughts behind this. I want to come back to one small thing here: is that good quality infrastructure, the way we have seen it in other longitudinally different countries, is cost money. It is not cheap. We are used to cheap infrastructure, and we seem to think that that is everything that needs to be an improvement over it still needs to be costed at the same
Yeah.
levels, and anything more is a
No,
wasteful
that is
expenditure.
cost of maintenance of infrastructure is
Mm.
inversely proportional to the capex spend on it. So if you spend less, you will actually spend up over a 20-year life cycle. You'll actually spend lots more to keep it in an acceptable condition. Instead, if you increase the capex spend in the beginning and put in durability as a factor when you create infrastructure, the infrastructure cost actually declines over time. You don't need to, but then it removes a significant component of the stuff of the elephant who is always in the room with us. There's no scope for annuity contracts. The system will resist that. In tender sure, which is 50 kilometers
Mm.
of Bangalore, see the expense on pothole fixing is zero. See the expense on stormwater drain works, nothing. So it was spent, what we spent about 4.5 crore or 5 crore a kilometer on that, compared to what they were spending about 1 crore. And these guys was a four times spend. It's already 10 years now, and the maintenance cost is
Mm.
almost. So this is the system has understood this and is actively resisting it. So they have now come up with Tender Sure Light. It only looks like Tender Sure on top, but below it is the same old junk. In India, we don't have a understanding of what is above the surface. Our maps are below grade, though we have the best technology in the world, satellite technology or whatever you want to call it, and we have absolutely no clue what is under the ground. We have no mapping of it. Every time I do a project, I use ground penetrating radar to find out where are the cables, where are the. No, you have to do. I mean, come on, you have to do this for the whole city. There's 13,500 kilometers of road. That's a lot of road. As I said, we know what to do. We just now need political will. We need bureaucratic acceptance and also the will of the people to demand that they want it like this. The moment that comes, then there will be a revolution. Like
Mm.
instead of a sewage treatment plant, if I tell you that I'll give you a park
Mm.
instead. We saw a project in Israel
Correct.
where the guy had made an
Mm.
apartment on the edge of a sewage treatment plant. And it was a double loaded apartment. One apartment was looking into the city onto another road, and the back apartment was looking into the sewage treatment plant. So they put this PTS system there, and the funny thing has happened. The real estate value of the apartments facing the plant's treated sewage plant is double compared to the apartments facing the road. So that's what will happen if this system is implemented on a city-wide scale. Rajakalwe will become the preferred address, like the canals of Amsterdam.
That brings me to one final point that I wanted to address. I mean, we talked about identity of cities, Indian cities, and Bengaluru is a good example of what it is. Might be, what do you this brand Bengaluru is going around now, right? What are your thoughts on what is Bengaluru's identity and brand? What does this actually mean? Who's defining it? So you talked about people. Are people a part of defining brand Bengaluru? What people can't define something that is beyond, right? I mean, they look at day-to-day problems and they're coming back and saying, "Fix this, and we are good enough." I don't care for your brand Bengaluru, really.
Why do you
But
say
what is this whole?
that? Why do you say that? I don't think so at all. In the level that I am,
Mhm,
everybody has a fairly
mm,
strong opinion on what they want their environment to be. So you have to look at the brand as a set of intangibles and also a set of
mm,
tangibles. It cannot be only tangibles. I want good road, great footpath kind of thing. So if you look at the
mm.
intangibles, what is Bangalore good at? It's a tolerant place. It's a reasonably safe city. We want all these things.
Nice.
Correct. You have to also look at the intangibles. It's a reasonably green city, in spite of what a lot of
Mm,
they say is. Compared to other Indian cities, it's quite a green place. Beyond tolerant, it has an easy-going culture. Have you noticed that? You don't see road rage. You don't see people
mm,
living desperately poor people living on footpaths. Even the low income areas and the subsumed villages of the city have a nice vibrancy and culture to them. It's not a terrible place. Three, there is
mm.
hardly any street crime. It's a fairly safe city in that sense. There are no gangs. There are no, I mean, there are, but it's not like Sao Paulo or something like that. It's not Johannesburg or something
Mm, mm,
of similar
mm.
kind of cities in the global south. And so all
Correct.
these are important factors to imagine. Okay. And it has, from a environmental point of view, I would say it has reasonable air quality. And the one thing that we're all very proud of, we have no influence on it, but the great climate most of the year. Correct? So how do you keep all these values alive and sustainable? And then on the tangible side, how do we focus on the Pancha tatvas, the mobility, the air quality? If you define the intangibles in terms of metrics, saying that why is it like this? Great climate must also mean great air quality. Great access to for people to resources must also mean access to water, access to mobility. You can co-link it, and we can devise a Bengaluru vision. Bangalore is turning 500 years old in 2037. It's less than 14 years away. What will Bangalore be on its 500th birthday? So to that extent, we also want to look at the culture of the city. Our organization is also working with Unboxing Bangalore, vision of Prashant Prakash, one of our prominent citizens, to create something called the Bengaluru Habba. So between 1st and 10th
Mm.
December, we will be the destination of the world in very short time. We are going to create a huge property now, which is now the Bangalore Tech Summit ends at the end of November. The Bangalore Lit Fest is there between the 2nd and 3rd of December. The Bangalore Design Week is also during that time. And overarching above all this will be a Bangalore Habba. 65% of the city is now migrant in the last 15 years and have no connection to this city at all. And now to include the citizens of the city as well, the older residents as well as the new migrants, to create a sort of positive force in the city, culture is the best tool. And that's going to happen between so many things, tangible things will come out of this brand Bangalore idea of the government. Also supported a lot by the people who have benefited from the city. The CSR component will be very, very high. Right? They will be involved all the
Yeah.
companies which are major employers and so on here, as also the all the resident welfare associations, the joke in the rest of India is that Bangalore has more civic activists per square foot than any city in the world.
Mm.
2,500 plus RWAs are there now. They are forming into federations of RWAs now. Everybody has to be brought in.
Bigger gangs.
Yeah, but we have to give everybody a singular vision, which will at least a 15-year vision. 2037 is one target. 2047, which is the 100th year of Indian independence, is the next target.
That's actually very nice to hear, and I am looking forward to the Bengaluru. But you are a history buff as well, right? You're talking about 500 years of Bengaluru as Kempegowda saw it. But I've spoken to the
Much older than
people who do this inscription. much older than that, and there are, and the city continually evolves. What you defined is maybe contemporarily what it is. 65% didn't might have appeared in the last 2 or 3 decades, and before that must have been completely different. The Bengaluru itself is changing from what retirees retirement heaven to garden city to tech city to innovation hub. It's continuously evolving. Will brands stay that way? What are you building through this brand? Is it only for tourism? You want lots of people to come for a reason, right? It is, what do the residents feel? What do these apartment,
No,
what, sorry, what do the
brand is not
RWS are looking at?
no, no. It's brand is not really to encourage more migration or to. It is more to create a sense of pride and ownership of the city and its resources.
Excellent.
The quality of life becomes.
Hmm.
It is not driven only by economic factors. See, Bangalore has eight
Hmm.
satellite towns around it. When a person moves to Bangalore, they're voting with their feet. They are not coming here for the climate.
Hmm.
And they're definitely not coming here for the traffic, right? The ease of traffic mobility. They're coming here for an economic reason. So if companies can be persuaded to, and the government also has to put in its bit by building a maybe a circular suburban rail network with nodal trains to the eight cities around the city, right? And at a larger level, also try to push development into the rest of Karnataka's urban areas. People and facilitate land and also spaces for real estate development as well as company development in all these eight satellite towns around the city. Bangalore by itself has, I think, reached carrying capacity. It's only about 800 square kilometers of urbanized area, and I would say about 1,200 square kilometers of BDA area, and about 2,000 odd kilometers of peri-urbanized area, and 8,000 square kilometers of the great Bangalore urban area. I think we have reached a time when satellite cities need to be created, and I think that's imperative to distribute the. Bangalore has now become is going to become bigger than Silicon Valley. Right? Our turnover right now this year is about $80 billion of economic output. Less than 5 years from now, we will quadruple that. Just mark my words. We will go to close to $300 billion of output from the city every year. To take that, Bangalore as it stands cannot take that. And if the population will double, it will go to 2.5 crore from what it is now. It's already crossed about 1.4 crore now. It will go to 2.5 crore, that is 25 million people. Nothing to get scared of. The Tokyo area is 37 million people and works like a chip.
Yeah, they're handling it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Lagos is almost hit about 25 million. They are not handling it, but they're on the same latitude. So we will understand how to do this if we go back to our own way of thinking. The Pancha model, fix the metrics, agree on the intangibles, and see how to marry the two to create a vibrant city for the future.
Excellent, Naresh. On that note, I'd like to thank you for joining the show and helping us unpack the learnings from the projects you're done. And we are all looking forward to seeing how that turns out the K100 and be able to walk along a waterway that we don't have yet. This is a call out to everyone else to like, subscribe, and share these videos. And see you all next week.
Thank you.